You're lying in bed scrolling through Instagram when a post catches your eye. Elon Musk's net worth just hit $1 trillion. It's a number so large you don't even know how to process it. You just know it's a lot more money than you'll ever have. You double tap, keep scrolling, and don't think about it again. But here's the weird part. You don't know Elon, and you'll likely never meet him in your entire life, but you still know his net worth, obviously not the exact amount, but a ballpark estimate. But do you know your own? Have you ever calculated the actual number? School taught us the Pythagorean theorem and made us memorize the names and dates of ancient wars, but never taught us how to measure and improve our finances. Most people have a rough idea of what net worth means, even if they've never actually sat down and calculated their own. But net worth is just one of 13 financial numbers that everyone should know about themselves, and most adults haven't done their homework. Once you actually calculate these numbers, you'll be more prepared for financial freedom than 95% of the population. So let's go through them together one at a time. At the end, I'll give you a real example and walk you through what these calculations actually look like for a normal middle-class person. Grab a notebook or use a notepad app on your phone or laptop. If you pay attention and actually do the work, you'll thank me later. Let's start with the most basic financial number that most people actually do know. Normally, it's a good thing when people know specific numbers related to their own finances. But in this case, the reason behind knowing is actually kind of sad. Number 1, your yearly income. If your only source of income is your job, your total yearly income is made up of all the money that gets deposited into your bank account on paydays. The money you actually get to use. A lot of people walk around thinking they make $80,000 a year when they actually take home closer to $58,000 after taxes and deductions. Those are two very different financial realities. People also assume that if you're making the same salary as your friend, you also take home the same amount on paydays. In most cases, the numbers are pretty close, but it's rarely the exact same. Two people can take home a very different amount of money after tax, even if they have the same salary. I explained this in my other video where I talked about how to legally lower your tax bill. You can watch that video after this one. Most Americans know their paycheck amount by heart because they're barely covering their basic monthly expenses. With the average American having less than $1,000 in savings, checking your balance becomes a daily ritual of anxiety. You're just hoping that the number on your checking account stays above zero until payday. So here's where to start. Add every source of income up. Your job, side hustles, freelance work, dividends, rental income, the yearly $50 in an envelope from your grandmother, everything. That number is your total yearly income. Number 2, your true hourly rate. People usually talk about how much they get paid in two different ways, their annual salary or their hourly rate. Hourly rate jobs are usually service or labor jobs where you get paid by the hour, and people often get overtime rates for working more than 40 hours per week. But chances are you're not getting paid by the hour. With a fixed salary, you don't get paid extra for working more than 40 hours per week. In that case, you should calculate your true hourly income. Most people calculate this by dividing their salary by 40 hours per week, since that is how much your offer letter said you're expected to work. But that's not the real number. Think about everything your job actually costs you in time. The commute there and back. The time you spend getting ready in the morning. The hour you spend decompressing after work before you can actually be present with your family. The emails you answer on weekends. The time you spend thinking about work when you're supposed to be off. Now divide your actual take-home pay by all of those hours combined. For a lot of people, that number is significantly lower than they expected. Some people who think they're earning $35 an hour are actually earning closer to $18 when you account for everything their job actually demands from their time. Look, I'm not trying to ruin your day. This isn't fun to hear, but I just want you to at least be aware of this number, especially if you don't enjoy your job. Your true hourly rate will give you a clear understanding of what your time is actually worth right now, and that could help you decide what's worth spending time on and what isn't. Number 3, your yearly expenses. Most people think they know what they spend until they sit down and actually calculate it. This is not going to be comfortable, but waking up to reality never is. I want you to go through your last 3 months of bank statements, or use a budgeting app if that's easier, and actually look at where the money went. Not what you think you spent, what you actually spent. You're going to find things that surprise you, subscriptions you forgot you signed up for, takeout orders that cost more than the monthly grocery bills for a family of 4, random online purchases that you don't even remember buying. Most people are genuinely shocked when they see the real number. When you're adding up your expenses, include everything. The obvious stuff like rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, phone, internet, subscriptions. And also the less obvious stuff like dining out, entertainment, hobbies, travel, clothing, gifts. And the stuff people almost always forget like annual fees, car maintenance, home maintenance costs, and everything in between. Add all of it up. Multiply your monthly average by 12 if you need to. That's your yearly expenses. You can also use a budget app to help you track your income and expenses all in one place. I'll drop links to some good budgeting apps and resources in the description below. Number 4, your biggest spending category. While you're going through those bank statements, I want you to do one more thing. Find your single biggest spending category. What do you spend the most dollars on every month? Most people assume it's rent or mortgage, and it usually is. But every once in a while, you realize that your biggest expense is something entirely different. Maybe it's food, or Uber rides to the club every week, or random subscriptions you've built up over the years, most of which you never even use. If you realize your biggest expense is something you don't really need, now is the time to cut it. By definition, this will save you more than anything else you can eliminate. A 10% reduction in your biggest expense saves you more than a 50% reduction in a small one. For example, if you're overspending $800 a month dining out, cutting that in half saves you $4,800 a year. But agonizing over whether to cancel your $15 Spotify subscription, the one thing that adds joy to your life and makes your long commute bearable? That's only $180 a year. Keep the music. Most budgeting advice makes people miserable because it tells you to remove 100 small pleasures while ignoring the 1 or 2 big expenses that are actually holding you back. You don't need to sacrifice everything you love. You just need to find the big leak first and plug it. Number 5, your fixed versus variable expense ratio. Now split your expenses into 2 buckets. Fixed expenses are things you're locked into every month regardless of what you do. Rent, mortgage, car payment, insurance, loan minimums. These are the expenses you can't easily change in the short term. Then you have variable expenses, the stuff that changes from month to month based on what you're in the mood for. Groceries, dining out, entertainment, clothing, travel. You have the most control over these things because they're not strictly required. Calculate what percentage of your total expenses are fixed and what percentage are variable. This number is actually really important to know. I'm not just making you do math for the sake of it. If 90% of your expenses are fixed, you have very little room to maneuver in an emergency. You can't cut back quickly because most of your spending is locked in. But if 50% of your expenses are variable, you have a lot of flexibility. You could cut significantly if you needed to without changing your fundamental lifestyle. This ratio tells you how vulnerable you are and how much control you actually have over your own finances. If things really go south, you'll know which expenses to cut right away to keep yourself afloat. Number 6, your income surplus. Now subtract your expenses from your income. That number you just calculated is one of the most important numbers in your financial life. If it's negative, you are spending more than you earn. This will shrink your bank account to 0, and it's a clear sign that you are moving backwards. Your debt is growing, savings are shrinking, and a sudden expense could wipe you out. If it's positive, that's your surplus. This is the money left over after you've lived your life. And this number is everything. Because your income only buys your lifestyle. Your surplus is what buys your freedom. Let me say that again because it's worth letting it sink in. Your income buys your lifestyle. Your surplus buys your freedom. Someone making $200,000 a year and spending $200,000 a year is no closer to financial freedom than someone making $50,000 and spending $45,000. The high earner might actually be further behind, because their entire life is built around a paycheck that can never stop. They can't walk away from a job they hate. They can't take a risk on a business idea. They can't say no to anything because the lifestyle they've built requires every dollar they make. That's what people call the golden handcuffs, and a lot of high earners are wearing them without even realizing it. The goal isn't just to earn more. I mean, money is good, so of course you should try to increase your income. But the real goal is to widen the gap between what comes in and what goes out. The bigger that gap, the faster everything changes. The faster you can build a financial safety net that gives you options in life. Number 7, your income replacement rate. If you lost your job tomorrow, how many months could you survive on your savings alone? Not comfortably, just survive. The bare minimum stuff like paying rent, buying groceries, and keeping the lights on. Take your total savings and divide it by your fixed expenses that you calculated earlier. That's your income replacement rate, measured in months. If the answer is less than 3 months, you're at serious risk. One layoff, one medical emergency, one unexpected expense, and you could end up having to ask your parents for a loan. And no one wants to be in that situation because getting money from your parents usually comes with strings attached. If the answer is 6 months or more, you have a real cushion. You have time to find a new job if you lose your current one. You won't be forced to take the first job that comes your way just to cover the bills. You can be a bit more choosy. Number 8, number of income streams. This one is simple. How many separate sources of income do you currently have? People always talk about diversification when it comes to investing. Spread your money across stocks, bonds, real estate, and precious metals. Never put all your eggs in one basket. And yet nobody ever applies that same logic to income. If you put your entire life savings into a single stock, any financial planner worth their salt would tell you that's insane. But having just one source of income, your job, apparently that's completely fine. It's considered normal. Never put all your eggs in one basket unless your entire livelihood depends on it. Then go right ahead. Think about how backwards that is. One decision by you, by your employer, or by the economy, and 100% of your income disappears overnight. The wealthy don't just earn more, they earn from more places. Salary, investments, rental income, business income, royalties, dividends. If one stream dries up, the others keep flowing. If you have multiple sources of income, you can sleep much more peacefully at night. Even if you get fired tomorrow, knowing that your other independent income sources can cover your fixed monthly expenses is an amazing feeling. You don't need to build 10 income streams tomorrow. But realizing that you currently have only one should be a warning sign. You should consider adding another source of income, maybe a second job, maybe even a side hustle. A few years ago, I learned about a car rental platform called Turo after using it myself on a trip with a friend. At the time, I had a full-time job as a software developer, but I didn't love my job and knew that if I had the money, I'd quit in a heartbeat. So when I got home from my vacation, I tested the waters by renting out my 2014 Honda Civic that I barely used since I was working from home. This was during the summer, and almost immediately after listing the car on Turo, I got a notification saying someone requested to book it. I rented it out and made a few $100. I was hooked. It felt like magic. This was my first taste of income outside of a job, and over the next 2 months, I ended up buying a bunch of cars with low interest financing and eventually had a fleet of 5 cars, bringing in thousands of dollars per month in profit. My job covered all my normal living expenses, while this extra Turo income was supercharging my savings and investments accounts. That was the moment I understood firsthand why multiple income streams matter. My job could disappear tomorrow, but for the first time, losing my job wouldn't mean my income instantly dropped to zero. I'm not saying you need to do what I did. You don't have to rent cars. You could start a YouTube channel, freelance on Fiverr or Upwork, or walk your neighbor's dog. The options are truly endless. Do whatever fits your interests and lifestyle, because pretty much anything is better than relying 100% on just your job, especially these days with the AI craze. Who knows how long normal jobs are even going to be around for? Number 9, your lifestyle inflation rate. This one is tricky. It sneaks up on you, kind of like your weight in your 30s. You're not making any dramatic changes, you're not eating terribly, you're not completely sedentary either, but one day you notice your gut in a mirror and wonder how you ended up in this situation. It wasn't one meal. It was 1,000 small decisions you never noticed adding up. Lifestyle inflation works exactly the same way. Nobody sits down and decides to blow their raise. Okay, maybe some people do. But since you're watching this video, you're probably not one of those people. It's a slightly nicer apartment that made sense at the time. The car upgrade that felt reasonable. The restaurants that became the new normal. Each decision on its own looks completely justified. Why not treat yourself after working so hard and getting that raise? Seems reasonable. But zoom out 3 years later and your income is up 40% while your savings account didn't budge. Try to remember what your life was like 3 years ago. How much were you earning and spending then compared to now? If your spending has grown at a faster rate than your income, you're a victim of lifestyle inflation. Studies show that Americans earning over $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck at a shocking rate. Nearly 1 in 3 six-figure earners has little to no saving. Not because $100,000 isn't enough, it's because their lifestyle expanded every time their income did. Say you were earning $60,000 5 years ago, spending $52,000, and saving $8,000 a year. Then you land a better job at $90,000. A 50% income increase. But instead of banking the difference, you upgrade your apartment, lease a nicer car, eat out more, and travel in premium economy a few feet away from the peasants. Now you're spending $82,000. Your savings barely moved, but your lifestyle is unrecognizable. You got a 50% raise and kept almost none of it. And if you're being honest with yourself, You're probably not even happier than you were before. You just upgraded your surroundings, and now those surroundings are your new normal. Here's how to actually check if this is happening to you. Pull up your income and spending from 3 to 5 years ago. Look at old bank statements, tax returns, whatever you have access to. Let's say you were earning $60,000 back then and spending $52,000. Now you're earning $90,000 and spending $75,000. Your income grew by $30,000 on a $60,000 base. That's 50% income growth. Your spending grew by $23,000 on a $52,000 base. That's 44% spending growth. Your income grew by 50% and your spending grew by 44%. That gap is only 6%, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but lifestyle inflation is eating into almost everything you earn. The goal is to make that gap as wide as possible. Income growing fast, spending growing slow, and the difference flowing straight into savings and investments. Every raise should grow your bank account, not your ego and your car payment. Number 10, your net worth. We just came full circle back to net worth. Net worth is simple. It's everything you own minus everything you owe. Assets are things that have value, such as your savings, investment accounts, retirement funds, your car, your home if you own one, jewelry, equipment, anything you could sell for money. Add it all up. Liabilities are everything you owe, such as your mortgage, car loans, student loans, credit card balances, personal loans, medical debt, and yes, that $200 you borrowed from cousin Jenny in 2019 that you're pretty sure she forgot about. Add that all up too. Subtract your liabilities from your assets. That's your net worth. Now, what matters more than the actual number is whether it's positive or negative. Positive means if you sold everything you own and paid off every debt, you'd still have money left over. Negative means you owe more than you actually have. And for a lot of younger people, especially if you went to college, that number is probably negative right now. Student loans will do that. And honestly, with AI reshaping entire industries, going 6 figures into debt for a degree in a field that may not even exist in 10 years is worth seriously thinking about. But that's a conversation for another video. What I will say is this: not all debt is created equal. A low-interest mortgage on a home you own is very different from maxing out a credit card on flashy clothes or watches you bought on a credit card to impress your friends. One builds wealth, the other just makes your lender richer. So if your net worth is negative right now, it means you have work to do. What matters isn't the number itself, it's the direction it's moving. Is it going up every month? Every year? Good. Keep going. Is it going down or standing still? Then something needs to change. The average American carries over $104,000 in debt, and total U.S. household debt just hit an all-time high of $18.8 trillion in early 2026. You don't want to be average here. The average person is broke, stressed, and miserable. Number 11, your net worth growth rate. Knowing your net worth is a good place to start, but knowing how fast it's growing is even better. Here's how to calculate it. Take your net worth today, subtract what it was exactly 1 year ago, then divide that difference by last year's number and multiply by 100. That gives you your growth rate as a percentage. Say your net worth was $20,000 a year ago and it's $24,000 today. It grew by $4,000. Divide that by last year's $20,000 and you get 20%. That's a strong year. You're moving in the right direction. Now, say it only grew from $20,000 to $20,400. That's only 2% growth. You're technically moving forward, but inflation alone is probably eating most of that. You're essentially standing still while convincing yourself you're making progress. And if the number shrank, then something needs to change. This single number cuts through all the noise. You can be budgeting religiously, investing consistently, doing everything right on paper. But if your net worth isn't growing meaningfully year over year, something in the system isn't working, and you need to identify what that is. Maybe lifestyle inflation is winning. Maybe your debt is growing faster than your assets. Maybe you're saving but not investing. Whatever it is, this number will expose it. Track it once a year, every year. Think of it as the most useful report card you can give yourself. Number 12, your total yearly interest payments. This is why banks are so rich. Your bank knows this number, and they're hoping you never bother to calculate it yourself. Add up every debt you have. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, mortgage, everything. Now look at each monthly payment and figure out how much is actually going toward interest versus paying down the real balance. Your lender is required to show you this breakdown on every statement, so it's easier to find than you think. That split might shock you. On a credit card charging 25% interest, the majority of your minimum payment isn't reducing your debt at all. It's like a monthly subscription for your debt, pure passive income for the lender, and they want you to never get rid of it. Here's how the math works. Say you're paying $150 a month in interest on your credit card, $80 a month on your car loan, and $120 a month on your student loans. That's $350 a month in interest across all three debts. Over a full year, that's $4,200 completely gone. Not paying down debt, that's just the interest. Unfortunately, for some people, the numbers are much worse. People carrying a mortgage, multiple credit cards, and a car loan can easily hit $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000 a year in pure interest payments. It's one thing to know you owe $30,000. It's another to realize you're paying thousands every year and still not any closer to being debt-free than when you started. Calculate this number. If anything motivates you to save money and pay off debt, it's realizing that you're burning thousands every year and getting nothing in return. Number 13, your financial independence number. Back in 1994, a financial advisor named William Bengen ran the numbers on every major market crash in history, the Great Depression, the 1970s inflation crisis, all of it, and found that retirees who withdrew no more than 4% of their portfolio per year never ran out of money over a 30-year period. This became known as the 4% rule, and it's been the foundation of retirement and financial independence planning ever since. So to find your number, you just flip it around. Take your yearly expenses and multiply by 25. If you spend $40,000 a year, your financial independence number is $1 million. If you spend $60,000 a year, it's $1,500,000. If you spend $100,000 a year, it's $2,500,000. That's the number. The portfolio size where 4% covers everything you need every year without ever touching the principal. Take your financial independence number and subtract whatever you currently have invested. That gap, that distance between where you are and where you need to be, is your financial independence gap. And this is where that income surplus you calculated earlier comes back in. Because that surplus, invested consistently every month, is what closes the gap. Say your financial independence number is $1 million and you currently have $50,000 invested. Your gap is $950,000. Now say your monthly surplus is $1,500, meaning after all your expenses, that's what you have left to invest. Assuming a 5% real annual return, which accounts for inflation and keeps your target in today's dollars, you'd close that gap in about 30 years. Increase that surplus to $2,500 a month, and you're there in roughly 22 years. That's 8 years of your life back, just by finding an extra $1,000 a month to invest. Now let's tie everything we covered in this video together with an example. Meet Alex. Alex is 28, lives in Austin, Texas, works a salaried marketing job, has a car payment, some student loans, and about $3,500 in credit card debt he's been carrying for the past year. Pretty normal situation. Here's what Alex's numbers look like. His gross yearly income is $72,000, but after taxes and deductions, he actually takes home $54,000. That's the number that matters. His true hourly rate tells a different story. Alex works roughly 50 hours a week when you factor in his commute, getting ready in the morning, and the emails he answers on weekends. That's about 2,500 hours a year. His offer letter said $34 per hour, but after doing the math, he realized he's effectively making a lot less than that. $54,000 divided by 2,500 hours is only $21.60 an hour. After going through his bank statements, Alex calculated that he spends about $48,000 a year. His biggest single expense is rent at $1,400 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in South Austin. When he splits his expenses into fixed and variable, $3,200 is fixed and $800 is variable. That's 80% fixed. If something goes wrong, Alex has very little room to cut back quickly. His income surplus is $54,000 minus $48,000, which leaves him $6,000 a year or $500 a month. That's the money he has left over to build his future with. His income replacement rate is not looking too good either. He has $4,000 in savings divided by $3,200 in fixed monthly expenses. That's just over 1 month. One layoff, one medical bill, and Alex is in serious trouble. He has one income stream, his marketing job. His lifestyle inflation rate shows that 3 years ago, Alex earned $52,000 and spent $36,000. Today, he earns $72,000 and spends $48,000. His income grew 38% and his spending grew 33%. That gap is only 5%. Lifestyle inflation is quietly winning. His net worth. Alex has $4,000 in savings, $8,000 in a Fidelity retirement account, and a 2021 Honda Civic worth $12,000. That's $24,000 in assets. He owes $18,000 in student loans, $9,000 on his car loan, and $3,500 on his credit card. That's $30,500 in liabilities. Alex's net worth is negative $6,500. His net worth growth rate. Last year, his net worth was negative $11,500. It improved by $5,000 over the past year. He's moving in the right direction, but slowly. His total yearly interest payments are where it gets painful. He's paying $80 a month in interest on his car loan, $120 a month on his student loans, and $70 a month in interest on his credit card balance. That's $270 a month, $3,240 a year just in interest. Money that is completely gone and doing nothing for him. And his financial independence number. Alex spends $48,000 a year, so his number is $1,200,000. He currently has $8,000 invested. His gap is $1,192,000. At $500 a month invested at a 5% real return, he won't close that gap in his lifetime at his current rate. Alex is just a normal person who never sat down and looked at all of these numbers together in one place. And that's exactly the point. Because now that he can see the full picture, he knows exactly what needs to change. His surplus is too small. His fixed expenses are too high. He has credit card interest bleeding him every month. And he has one income source that could disappear tomorrow. So here's what I want you to do this week. If you can set aside some time today to get this done, that's even better. Work through every number we covered today and actually write them down. Don't just try to keep them in your head. Get it out on paper, in a spreadsheet, or use a budgeting app where you have to look at them. Some of you are going to see numbers that make you feel bad about yourself. But these numbers are not set in stone. You didn't come out of the womb with monthly interest payments. So if you can build up the debt, you can also pay it down. You started this video knowing Elon Musk's net worth and not your own. Let's make sure you're never in that position again.